You ever see a spider and just freeze? Or maybe you cross the street to avoid a dog, even if it's on a leash. Yeah, you're definitely not alone. For a lot of people, that's not just a little scare, it's a full-blown phobia. Today, we're going to get into what makes these fears so powerful and explore a really cool cure that can literally rewire how your brain responds. Okay, let's jump right in. It's a great question, right? Because logically, you might know that a little spider can't really hurt you. So, what's actually happening inside our heads that turns a totally normal animal into this source of pure terror? That's the psychological puzzle we're going to solve today. So, first things first, let's be super clear. A phobia is not the same as just being scared. We're talking about a fear that's intense, that doesn't go away, and is just way, way out of proportion to the actual danger. It's the kind of fear that can really mess with your life. And these phobias are all over the map. Sure, you've got the big predators like sharks and bears, which kind of makes sense, but you also have tiny things like spiders, insects, even birds. The thing they all have in common isn't how dangerous they are, but that feeling of absolute dread they can cause. And it turns out there are actually two different flavors of animal phobias. Some are fear-based. That's the classic, I'm gonna get bitten or attacked feeling. But then there are disgust-based phobias. This is more about that feeling of revulsion, that ew, get it off me sensation you might get from a cockroach or a slimy snake. And knowing the difference is actually really important when it comes to treatment. Okay, so if the fear is so irrational, why doesn't it just go away? Well, the answer is kind of a paradox. It's because of a powerful mental loop that actually makes the phobia stronger every single time we try to run from it. And this right here is the absolute heart of the matter. The real bad guy in the story of your phobia isn't the dog or the spider. It's this sneaky, self-reinforcing habit of avoidance. It feels like you're protecting yourself, but you're actually walking right into a trap. So let's break down this cycle. Picture this. You see the thing you're afraid of, and boom, your anxiety just goes through the roof. So you bolt, you get out of there, and what happens? You feel this instant wave of relief. And that relief is a really powerful reward. Your brain basically goes, hey, that worked. Running away made the scary feeling stop, and so the next time you're even more likely to avoid it, which just feeds the phobia and makes it bigger and stronger. This quote from the source material just nails it. By always avoiding the thing you're scared of, you never give your brain the chance to learn something new. You never stick around long enough to see that, hey, the dog is actually friendly, or that the spider is just sitting there. Your brain never gets to disprove that mistaken belief it's holding on to. So, if avoidance is the poison, what's the antidote? Well, as scary as it sounds, you have to do the exact opposite. You have to break the cycle. And that brings us to the cure, this incredibly powerful technique called exposure therapy. Exposure therapy is pretty much what it sounds like. It's about facing your fears, but, and this is the important part, you do it gradually, repeatedly, and in a totally safe and controlled way. The goal is not to re-traumatize you. It's to create a safe space where you can slowly teach your brain that the thing you're afraid of isn't the monster you've built it up to be. And this is what's so cool about what your brain is actually learning. You're learning that, okay, the terrible thing I'm imagining probably isn't going to happen. You're learning that this awful feeling of anxiety, it doesn't last forever. It peaks and then it comes back down all by itself. But maybe the most important lesson is that you can handle it. And the magic ingredient? You learn all of this from personal experience, by doing it, not just by sitting in a chair and talking about it. All right, so theory is one thing, but what does this actually look like for a real person? Let's dive into this amazing case study from the source material about a little boy who was absolutely terrified of dogs. So, meet John. He's only 7 years old, and after one scary run-in with a neighbor's dog, he developed a serious phobia. It got so bad he wouldn't even play in his own backyard. He couldn't go to his friends' houses if they had a dog. His entire world was shrinking, all because of this one fear. So, what did his therapist do? They didn't just toss him into a room full of puppies. No way. Instead, they worked together and built what's called an exposure ladder. It's basically a list of challenges, starting with something that's only a little bit scary and slowly, step by step, working your way up to the top. It's all about taking small, manageable, brave steps. And what was at the very top of his ladder, the final boss level? This. On a fear scale from 0 to 100, John said the idea of lying on the ground and letting a dog lick a treat off his forehead was a perfect 100. I mean, can you imagine? For him, that was the absolute scariest thing in the entire world.
But check out this incredible turnaround. After just 5 sessions working his way up that ladder with a therapy dog named Leo, John was actually feeling comfortable. And not just that, he was motivated. He wanted to finish his list because he was working towards a reward that his fear had taken from him. Just a simple sleepover with his friends. And you know what? He did it. He completed every single task, even that terrifying number 100.
John's story is it's the perfect illustration of how this whole process works. It's not magic. It is literally about retraining your brain. So let's zoom out. What is the big takeaway here for all of us? Here's the key. Every single time John did something brave with Leo, petting him, letting him lick his hand, he was creating a new memory. And this new, safe, positive memory was in direct competition with that old, scary one. And over time, as he stacked up more and more of these new, positive experiences, they became stronger and started to overwrite that old fear response. And this, right here, might be the most powerful lesson of all. The point was never to make it so John felt zero fear ever again. Fear is a normal, healthy emotion. The goal was to teach his brain and to teach him that he could feel that anxiety bubbling up, and he could handle it. He could get through it. It taught him that he was in control, not the fear.
So we'll leave you with this thought. These principles, they go way beyond just a fear of animals, right? So many of our anxieties are built on that exact same cycle of fear and avoidance. What this shows us is that fear is so often a learned response. And if it can be learned, well, that means it can be unlearned too. So the question is, what does that make possible for you? What could you learn to overcome?